This is Action Sports Jack's Road to Victory Lane.
Oh, that was it. We're getting criticized. That wasn't a big enough beep through the tunnel, but that means we're back at Daytona International Speedway, and that usually means it's the middle of February, and it's the Daytona 500. It is here on this Sunday. Happy Valentine's Day as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Daytona International Speedway. I'm Brent Martineau. The major storyline here today is not only the start of the NASCAR season, but will we get this race in? Scheduled to go at 3:06 with the green flag, and if they get going, will they reach the finish line because of some weather in the area? So we'll have a look at that coming up. In fact, let's meet our team, our pit crew, if you will, and that includes meteorologist Corey Sima. He'll have an update on the forecast in a moment. Plus, Mike Borish takes a look at the historical impact of the weather at the 500, and there's been plenty of it, and the stories of the NASCAR season with our Action Sports Jax team.
Denny Hamlin has won the Daytona 500 for the second year in a row.
He did it again. Denny Hamlin across the line first to capture the 2020 Daytona 500. Back-to-back 500s. Both emotional wins on several levels. Jubilation of winning the 500, of course. But in 2019, emotional for Joe Gibbs Racing, as the legendary owner had recently lost his son. And last year, a surreal victory lane and subdued celebration as Ryan Newman crashed badly while Hamlin won the race. We'll have more on Ryan Newman's story over the last year coming up in a moment. But as for Denny Hamlin, he finally, we should thank Denny Hamlin for this, by the way, we finally don't have to say the annual stat of the last time someone won back-to-back Daytona 500s with Sterling Marlin back in the mid-90s. Hamlin erases that, and now he tries to do something that has never been done here at the Daytona 500. He goes for a three-peat.
The Chicago Bulls have won their sixth NBA championship, and it's their second three-peat.
Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls famously pulled off a three-peat in the NBA on two different occasions. In a year when MJ and Denny Hamlin have teamed up to own a car in NASCAR, Hamlin gets a chance to three-peat at Daytona today.
This is a big opportunity for us and my team and myself personally. It's just never would imagine we'd be in this position. It would be by far my biggest victory.
The 11 car Hamlin drives is still owned by Joe Gibbs Racing. And what a run at Daytona the Super Bowl winning coach and Hamlin have had.
Denny Hamlin wins his second Daytona 500. First time one team has finished 1, 2, 3.
In 2019, Hamlin led a Gibbs Racing contingent to go 1, 2, 3 at the 500.
Fist pump from Denny Hamlin, who has won the Daytona 500 for the second year in a row.
And last year, Hamlin pulled off the back-to-back Daytona 500s for the first time in almost a quarter of a century.
I find the most pride in that I think it's harder than it ever has been. It is a skill game, but sometimes you get unlucky in that skill game.
Hamlin knows how to win here and surrounds himself with some of sport's biggest winners. Only one driver has a chance to three-peat today. He'd be the first in the history of NASCAR to accomplish that feat here at Daytona. Hamlin and the rest of the field will be following the 48 car to the green flag, and that's not Jimmy Johnson's car anymore now. That's Alex Bowman, wins the pole for the 63rd running of the Daytona 500. Hendrick Motorsports, how about their dominance? They claimed the pole in 6 of the last 7 races and provided Ricky Stenhouse the engine to win that other one. It's a good start in a new number for Bowman.
Feels really good. It's awesome for Ally. I don't know if they've had a pole yet. I figure they probably had a pole with Jimmy somewhere, but I don't know. So, man, it's just awesome to be driving this 48 car.
We take a look at the rest of this starting lineup and some notables through the field, including Bubba Wallace in 6th. Kyle Busch will start 10th. The defending series champ, Chase Elliott, will go off in 12th, just ahead of new teammate Kyle Larson. More on those two throughout the show. Some major names in the middle of the pack with Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. in row 13. A number of teams are dropping to the rear of the field for going to backup cars. We'll tell you why in just a moment. And to get everybody up to speed on Speed Weeks, let's bring in Action Sports Jax. Dan Hicken back in the studios in Jacksonville. And Dan, it's Daytona 500 day, but there's been a lot of racing already this week.
No doubt, Brent. Speed Weeks changing things things up in 2021. Instead of starting a week ahead of the 500, they condensed the schedule with a different event every night starting on Tuesday. So before we get to the Great American, let's catch up on all the checkered flags from a week of racing, starting with a Busch Clash that featured more twists and turns. Literally, this time around, they took it to the road course, and on the final lap, Ryan Blaney passed Chase Elliott for the lead. But in the final turn, Chase went ahead and wiped out his buddy, and in the process, his own chances of winning, which opened the door for Kyle Busch to go on and win the Busch Clash. Thursday night, we go to the duels. Alex Bowman, the key figure in the first one, leading them to green. But midway through the race, a hiccup in the engine. He'd returned to the race, and they didn't change the engine, so he keeps that top starting spot. Eric Almirola gets the win, yet another victory for someone from Tampa. The first duel caution-free. After rain delayed race number 2, drivers, they got a little punchy. Mostly the young guys fighting for a spot in the 500. Garrett Smithley battling Noah Gragson and takes out some contenders in the process. William Byron and Brad Keselowski both going to backup cars and the back of the field today. Good finish of this one. Austin Dillon edging out Bubba Wallace. Speaking of good finishes, you can always count on the Friday night trucks race to provide late drama, right? 30 to go, and this just in. 4 wide doesn't work. The 38 gets turned to the last sprint, and what a sprint it was. Ben Rhodes able to escape the carnage behind him and earn his 4th career win, as a lot of body shops prepare for some extra work with all the wrecked trucks on that last lap. Saturday night featured the Xfinity Series, and this one always ends with a lot of scrapped sheet metal. Lap 74, time to pit, but some folks didn't get the memo. Michael Annett triggers a pileup that collects 8 other cars. Woo! 16 to go, and Ty Dillon in the 54. Well, that didn't work. Instead, here's the big one. In those 2 wrecks, all 4 of Dale Jr.'s cars get wiped out. That, my friends, is an expensive day at the office. We go to overtime, and nobody is able to get by defending series champ Austin Cindric, who gets the win. So often the most memorable moments at Daytona involve the big one. Wrecks are inevitable in the 500 every year. But in the last 2 decades, driver safety has improved by leaps and bounds. It was, and hard to imagine, 20 years now that NASCAR lost its biggest star, Dale Earnhardt Sr., passing away after a last lap wreck in the 2001 Daytona 500. Lessons learned from that accident proved to be the difference 1 year ago for Ryan Newman.
Here comes Hamlin up the outside.
Wow.
Crash into the wall, into the air. Goes Newman.
We all thought the same terrible thought 1 year ago. There was no way Ryan Newman was going to come out of this okay. But just 2 days later, Newman walked away from Halifax Health Medical Center with his daughters in tow. It was a medical miracle. One reason why what had happened at the Speedway 20 years ago.
The reality is the start of my crash was really no different than the start of his crash, which was basically the end of his crash. And I can see the progression that we've had from a safety standpoint, and that's going to be a topic of many, and hopefully not the end topic. When the checkered flag falls.
Newman really has no memory of that crash. He said he had to watch it from every angle to make himself believe he was actually in it. Now he's back, doing what he loves behind the wheel of his race car, ready to chase that Daytona dream one more time.
I've been around the sport long enough to know that there's drivers that have never got a top 10, let alone a top 5, or in my case, a top 10 on the roof, let alone have a shot at the Daytona 500 the way I did last year. So just being in the hunt again will be an amazing feeling, hopefully.
Indeed. After rain wiped out nearly all of Saturday's Cup Series practice, suffice to say all eyes on the skies at Daytona for a typical Florida forecast. That's why we bring in the experts, including First Alert meteorologist Corey Sima, who has been tracking storms all morning on this First Alert weather day.
Looks like a little bit of rain shower activity and some thunderstorms as well around for Daytona 500. Here's the hour-by-hour rain forecast starting at noon. You see the green and the colors here start to move right over Daytona Beach at 2:30. That's the race start time. But watch what happens as I go later in the afternoon. The rain kind of clears out here by 3, 4, and 5 o'clock. So looks like the race may have to be delayed, but the weather into this evening doesn't look problematic. And the temperatures, not bad. We're going to be just under 70 degrees, getting rid of the rain, and then it'll still be humid after those showers come down for the great race. I'm Action News Jax meteorologist Corey Sima. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Corey. One new dynamic to the NASCAR on Fox broadcast booth this year will be the addition of Clint Bowyer to the team. He won 10 times on the track in his 16-year career, but early indications are that he may be even better as a broadcaster, bringing some extra humor to the booth to go along with fellow analyst Jeff Gordon.
Oh, so we're going to talk about him winning at Daytona 500, me flipping upside down and catching on fire and pouting in front of everybody. Yeah, that's see how many knives we can get in my side by the end of this interview today.
More to come on the road to victory lane, including the return of Kyle Larson with a new team and a new perspective.
Hey, I'm Kevin Harvick, and you're watching Action Sports Jax.
Larson to the top, tries to cut off Bell. Bell committed here. This is a race for the lead. Big run by Bell. Larson says, no, not this time.
Kyle Larson with a victory at the Chili Bowl Nationals last week, capping an unexpected year of success on the dirt track circuit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Road to Victory Lane special live from Daytona International Speedway. I'm Brent Martineau, and Larson never expected to be racing on dirt so much, as he had a full-time ride here in NASCAR in the Cup circuit with Chip Ganassi Racing, a star of the 42 car, and then everything changed in just a matter of days last April. Let's go to the timeline on Kyle Larson. It was a major storyline. April 12th, when Larson used a racial slur in an online race. 2 days later, Ganassi fired the 28-year-old driver after all of his major sponsors cut ties. As racing returned, Larson underwent sensitivity training meetings, the requirement of NASCAR. It wasn't until October that he was cleared for reinstatement by the sport's governing body. A week and a half later, Larson found his new ride with Hendrick Motorsports. Action Sports Jax Stuart Weber is here at the Speedway as well, and he has more on Larson right now, getting an unexpected, potentially, second chance.
Long before recruiting him to drive the 5-car, team owner 320. Long before recruiting him to drive the 5-car, team owner Rick Hendrick reached out to embattled driver Kyle Larson as a person during his NASCAR suspension. That relationship grew from a personal one to a professional one as Larson returns to the track at Daytona.
Never thought that I would, get another chance to race in NASCAR, and I kind of accepted that.
Not only is Larson racing again, but he's doing so for the team owner with the most championships in Cup Series history.
Most people know how hard he's worked and what he's done to make things right, or to say he's sorry and take ownership. And the body of work he's done has been amazing.
That body of work includes starting a foundation and continuing to volunteer with organizations that raise awareness about racial inequality.
If you make a mistake and you own it, be a role model for other people that maybe have made a mistake, or even people that hadn't thought about it in the depth that he has now.
It was a tough year for sure, but I grew as a person and grew as a race car driver. And, now I look forward to putting everything together this year and being a great person and a great race car driver.
Time will tell not only on the track how Larson does, but in rebuilding his image in a sport where being a corporate spokesperson is sometimes just as important as the actual racing. At Daytona International Speedway, Stuart Weber, Action Sports Jax.
At 28 years old, Larson jumps right in as the elder statesman. That's how young and talented Team Hendrick is for the foreseeable future. Chase Elliott has a championship at 25. William Byron, just 23, won the summer race at Daytona last year. Alex Bowman shifts from the 88 to the 48 this year, a move that might have ruffled a few feathers.
I would say the people that are most upset would be the couple friends that I have that got 88 tattoos after I won Fontana last year.
Yeah, that'll do it.
They weren't very happy about that, and I was supposed to get a tattoo and I didn't do it just because the pandemic happened and I haven't had a chance, and they're like, man, you knew and you didn't do it because of that. So they're the only ones upset.
88 to 48. You could have made the 4 maybe an 8, but you can't make the 8 a 4 on a tattoo. Some new looks in the garages. Mention the Hendrick duo of Bowman jumping to the 48. Larson getting back into a ride with the number 5 car. Brand new team in 23. 11 Racing and Bubba Wallace as well behind the wheel. More on that new partnership. It's a big storyline in NASCAR. Bubba leaves the 43, that famous ride filled by Eric Jones, who gets to race for the King Richard Petty, of course. His old car, the Joe Gibbs number 20, now filled by second-year driver Christopher Bell. I'll have a conversation with Christopher in a bit. This is what the fan zone normally looks like at Daytona. Look at how many people. That is not live, by the way. That's not what's happening right now, as fans usually pack the experience of the Daytona 500. This is a bucket list event. Suffice to say, you won't see a similar scene this time around. In fact, you can tell there's a difference in the buzz around the track and here as well as the sun starts to pop out at Daytona International Speedway. Let's bring in Action News Jack's Tanika Hughes. She has more on, well, the experience at the track's second major sporting event in a week here in the state of Florida.
The Great American Race is upon us, and this year's experience for drivers, teams, and fans will be centered around pandemic precautions. Daytona International Speedway can hold 101,000 fans in the stands, but track president Chip Wiles said that won't be the case this year, as capacity will be limited due to COVID-19.
30% roughly is where we're going to be in the venue, but then we will have, guests in the infield.
Another noticeable difference at turns 3 and 4, there will be no tent camping this year, but Wiles says they look to the past for a creative alternative.
We've actually turned that into, for the day of the Daytona 500, kind of old school. We've sold car parking. So basically, Jenna Fryer and I can come to the race together. We buy 2 tickets in our car. We go sit in our designated space with a spot to the right of us. And we can come enjoy the race kind of like you did in the 70s and 80s.
All guests will also be screened as they entered and required to wear face masks and social distance.
It's going to be a great day in the Great American Race, the Daytona 500.
Outside of COVID precautions, Wiles says they will also have state, local, and federal officials helping with security, which will include things people can see and elements that are hidden. Back to you.
There's a look at the pace car here for the Daytona 500 as we get set for the 2021 edition on the way. More to come on our Road to Victory Lane, including a schedule that includes a lot more road racing. Why? We'll take a look around the tracks on the NASCAR circuit coming up. And how about across the street? Remember, Daytona Rising was a huge story about the Speedway a few years ago. Well, look what they've done across the street with Daytona 1. To compare it, it's like St. John's Town Center across the street from the track. And they've certainly built it up in a big-time way with restaurants, businesses, residential housing. That's a look across the track at Daytona International Speedway.
Hey,
Hey, I'm NASCAR driver Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
Wow. And you're watching Action Sports Jacks.
This is Action Sports Jack's Road to Victory Lane. This is Action Sports Jack's Road to Victory Lane.
What do you make of this dirt racing for the Cup Series at a high-banked racetrack like Bristol?
It's not April Fool's, right?
It's a different look for the world's fastest half mile. Next month, dirt racing returns to NASCAR's top series for the first time in more than 50 years. Taking a live look at Bristol Motor Speedway up in Tennessee, and the dirt track is ready. Part of a revamped schedule that includes some new tracks and some other changes for 2021. Goodbye to Kentucky and Chicagoland as NASCAR takes a turn towards more road course racing. In May, the Cup Series debuts at the Circuit of Americas in Austin, Texas, the site of Formula One's U.S. Grand Prix since 2012. After a decade in the dark, Nashville Superspeedway gets an upgrade and adds a Cup Series race as the top drivers will visit the 1 3rd Mile Oval in June. For the third time in 3 years, July 4th weekend will race at a different track with Road America back on the Cup schedule for the first time since 1956 for 4+ miles of road course racing in Wisconsin. Last year, Independence Day weekend was at Indy. That race shifts to mid-August, and instead of the oval, they'll be racing on the road course at Indianapolis this time around. One more major change comes in the All-Star race. Who says see you later to Charlotte and hello to the Lone Star State as Texas Motor Speedway plays host this year. One more unscheduled road course edition right back at Daytona next week as COVID restrictions in California forcing NASCAR to scrap the race at Fontana, and instead they'll be back at the World Center of Auto Racing for an encore next weekend. One more quirk to the schedule this summer is an extended break in late July. Marcel Robinson joins us with some more details on just that.
Following the Foxwood Resort Casino 301 in July, the track will cool off for a short time as the Olympics take center stage. Essentially 3 weeks with no Cup Series races. We decided to have a bit of fun. Which Olympic events would occupy the driver's time? We'll start off with one of the sport's best drivers, Kevin Harvick. Truth be told, he's actually a bit of a golf enthusiast. He has hosted his annual Kevin Harvick Foundation program in North Carolina since 2012 and can be found on the course whenever he's not in the car, citing the change of pace being the most gratifying part. Now, let's have some fun. Don't be surprised if you see Martin Truex Jr. in a tree with a bow. Keep in mind that in addition to the Summer Olympics, the beginning of deer season kicks off during that NASCAR break as well. A couple of years ago, Truex and retired driver Dale Jr. partnered to manage a hunting property together. Sounds like a perfect fit to me. Now, this last one may be my favorite. Come on now. Tell me you couldn't see Kyle Busch mixing it up in a boxing ring. I mean, the guy is arguably the most hated man in NASCAR, and I'd be willing to gamble that you can't find a driver that doesn't want to punch him in the face. Just ask Joey Logano about that right hook. Look, I don't know the guy, but there are videos on the internet of him mixing it up, and it's longer than Reggie Bush's highlight tape, both high school and college. In the studio, Marcel Robinson, let's go back to you.
All right, thanks, Marcel. Go figure, the year NASCAR adds more road course racing. 7-time champ Jimmie Johnson retires from the Cup Series to go try his hand at road course racing in the INDYCAR Series. A new challenge for Johnson, who will split some races with Tony Kanaan in the number 48 this season for Chip Ganassi Racing. The 7-time champ has left the building, but the future is bright at Hendrick Motorsports, including the reigning champ, Chase Elliott, who is already living up to his famous name. That story coming up next.
Hey everyone, Ryan Blaney.
The winner at Pocono, Ryan Blaney.
And you're watching Action Sports Jax.
It's a sport known for change.
Crash into the wall, into the air.
From safety to car style, rule changes, and point systems.
Dale Jr. captures the flag at the start-finish line.
In the last few years, NASCAR has turned over much of its star power.
For the second time, the Daytona 500 goes to Jimmie Johnson.
Some of the biggest names have retired.
Denny Hamlin, who has won the Daytona 500.
Change can be good, and NASCAR believes 2021 is going to be really good. The green flag waves on the season today at the Daytona 500.
This is Action Sports Jack's Road to Victory Lane.
And here is the war victory that's won by Bill Elliott, and listen to the partisan crowd here at Atlanta.
I love the old video before 2020, the last time NASCAR's most popular driver also won the championship, 1988, when Bill Elliott claimed the Winston Cup. 22 years later, another reason to celebrate in Dawsonville, Georgia, as their favorite son, Chase Elliott, wins at Phoenix, takes the 9 car to his hometown to do some burnouts. Like father, like son. Hey, everybody, welcome back to our Road to Victory Lane special. I'm Brent Martineau, Daytona International Speedway, and Chase Elliott certainly could end up in Victory Lane later today. I love him. in small town Georgia, and they're not at all surprised with the success here in NASCAR.
One more time around, 1 mile away from a championship for Chase Elliott.
In a sport basked in history and generations of family ties, Chase Elliott is the latest to etch his name in the NASCAR family album.
Chase Elliott is a NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Trying to just enjoy all of the different situations and scenarios I've been a part of. Obviously, winning a championship is great.
Every sport needs stars, and NASCAR has had lots of them over the decades. Bill Elliott was one, and now his son, Chase, is NASCAR's newest, biggest star.
No matter what you do, if you have a bad stretch or don't do well, they're going to come after you about whatever you've done recently. If you have a good run after being trashed, then everybody's going to be hyping you up and excited for you and jumping on the bandwagon. So it's all about performance, and it's all about what have you done lately.
Just like they did for Bill Elliott, a siren in Dawsonville, Georgia, sounds when Chase wins a race.
There we go.
The tradition continues, as they say in this small town of Georgia, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville and Chase from the same place.
He'll win at the Charlotte Roval.
Heading into today's Daytona 500, Chase's place in NASCAR is at the top as the defending points champion. Hey, by the way, just a little geography for you. Dawsonville, Georgia, about an hour and 15 minutes away from Cartersville, Georgia. Yeah, home of Trevor Lawrence. Here's some odds to win the points championship. Kevin Harvick, the favorite. Kyle Busch right there. There's Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano as well. Of course, you got to remember now, Elliott, a 3-time consecutive winner of most popular driver as well. 25 years old. They love him. He's kind of like the Patrick Mahomes right now of this sport. Young and talented and popular as well. Talked about all the young drivers for Team Hendrick. Well, that's not the only team with young drivers. Let's bring in Action Sports Jack Stuart Weber once again as he catches up with another one of the young guns, the driver of the 20 car.
If you're looking for a young, up-and-coming driver to watch at the Daytona 500, how about Christopher Bell? He moves back to Joe Gibbs Racing into that number 20 car. And now, with amazing equipment, you can expect Bell to be right among the leaders as they take the green flag.
You know, I had a lot of success there with Jason Ratcliffe as my crew chief. And, you know, we always kind of look down the street and hope that one day we ended up to make the trek up to the Cup shop. So here we are getting ready for the 2021 season. And yeah, I'm at Joe Gibbs Racing in the Cup shop this time, and you know, I just want to make everyone proud.
And you got to experience that rookie roller coaster, just like the other guys did as well. I mean, you have a couple top fives in there, but coming off a season where you won 8 times in the Xfinity Series, what was that like?
It was quite difficult, and I don't think 2020 performed how any of us are involved with the 95 group would have liked to have gone. You know, we had moments of being really fast, and you know, we saw like Texas was probably the highlight of the year. We finished 3rd and arguably had a race car capable of winning there. So, you know, that was the highlight, and we wish we had more highlights from the year, but you know, it was up and down, and it was a learning experience for sure.
What's the biggest thing you probably say you would learn?
How to get to the end of these races. I mean, the races are so long. You look at 500 miles, and we have the Coke 600. They're long races, and all it takes is one mistake to get yourself in trouble. So just got to be there at the end. You got to get to mile 500, and mile 500, your car has to be as good as it was on mile 1 to win these things.
Even though it was Cole Custer of the rookies to get a win last year, you could certainly make a case for Bell putting together the best all-around effort, and doing it with Levine Family Racing made it that much more of an accomplishment. He will certainly be one to watch. At Daytona International Speedway, Stuart Weber, Action Sports Jacks.
It was 20 years ago this week that Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away after the Daytona 500, and at the scoring pylon during lap 3 of this year's race, just in a few hours, we'll have number 3 lit up all across the pylon. Daytona International Speedway, the Daytona 500, also asking the fans in attendance to hold 3 fingers up and raise them to the sky during lap 3. Wouldn't it be something if Austin Dillon, who will start 4th overall in this race, maybe leads the race on lap 3? Of course, he is the driver of the number 3 car. Sunday at Daytona 1 year ago started nice, but right around the green flag, the sky fell out and it wouldn't stop the rest of the day. Sometimes the best thing about Florida can also be the worst thing, and we don't know what to expect today because the sun is out, but rain is in the forecast. We'll see what happens. Dodging raindrops could be a thing on this Sunday edition of the Daytona 500 2021. Let's bring in First Alert Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish, who has more, a little bit of a historical reference to some of the weather days here at the 500.
Well, hello. Really a rich history when it comes to weather in the Daytona 500. Let me show you. Now, it can be very nice. The average low temperature is 50 and the average high temperature, very comfortable, 71 degrees. But one race back in 1967 was cold. It was in the 40s. Several races have had temperatures just in the 50s. 2 races finished on a Monday due to rain back in 2012 and then just last year. 4 races have been shortened, including the shortest back in 2003 with 109 laps. And then finally in 2014, if you were there, you won't forget this one. A tornado warning was issued before the race and the stands had to be evacuated. The delay was 6 hours and 22 minutes, but the race did start and finish that night. Here's hoping that the rain stays away today. If we can get lucky, have a great day.
It certainly could be a long day here at Daytona. It's been a long career for Derek Cope. 31 years ago, he won the Daytona 500. Now he's back for one last ride. That story is on the way. Next, our Road to Victory Lane special right here on Fox 30 live from the Speedway. Daytona 500 2021 green flag waves at 3:06 right here on Fox.
Eric Jones, driver for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Eric Jones has won at Daytona!
And you're watching Action Sports Jacks.
This is Action Sports Jack's Road to Victory Lane.
It is car number 10, Derek Cope, coming to the line. It's Labonte pulling up, and an amazing finish.
Who? The 1990 Dale Earnhardt Sr. poised to win the 500, but a flat tire on the final lap opened the door for Derek Cope to score his first ever victory in the sport's biggest race. It still goes down as really one of the more stunning finishes to a 500. Cope would win one more Cup Series race at Dover later that year. Now, 62 years old, he's back at Daytona for one final ride before hanging up the steering wheel for good. We go to the tail of the tape, ladies. Hey, wait a minute. All right, I'll look better. Cope, 5 years my senior. Now, he does have a little higher top speed on the high banks of Daytona. That 80 miles per hour is being generous, unless you ask my wife. When it comes to major wins, not sure which ranks higher. 4, count them, 4 golden fedoras or a Harley J. Earl trophy. Cope is ready for one last ride.
It was a gift, really, I think, and I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I love Daytona. I've always, felt like that if I was going to end things, and I'd like to be doing it there.
All right, well, on the other side of the spectrum are the young guys. 2020 featured a star-studded rookie class. Tyler Reddick, Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, who you heard from, and the young guns delivered. Custer, of course, getting a win at Vegas, while Reddick and Bell steadily improving over the course of the season. Only 2 guys vying for the top rookie title in 2021. Anthony Alfredo and Chase Briscoe jumping into new rides this year. A lot of the attention will be on Briscoe in the 14 car vacated by Clint Bowyer after he won a record 9 times in the Xfinity Series last year. Off the track, Briscoe seems to have a few quirks.
I'm a super picky eater. Never had a hot dog. Never had a peanut butter and jelly. I'm definitely weird when it comes to food.
How about this? If you get a win at Martinsville, will you try a hot dog?
No, I can't do it. I made it this long. Chicago in 2016, I was able to win there, and that was part of their deal. You had to try a Chicago dog, and I was like, man, I can't do it. Something about it.
Come on, man. Hoping for boogity, boogity, boogity around 3:06 today down at Daytona. And if they don't get it in today, could be a long week of waiting it out. Once the checker flag waves for the Great American Race, track employees will have 1 week to get Daytona ready for the road course. So what do racers do in that time? For that, we turn to Action News Jack's John Bachman with the story of one driver who doesn't plan on slowing down.
As drivers and their teams made their way to Daytona for the 500, NASCAR champion Joey Logano will be bringing some extra baggage. Since last summer, Logano's foundation partnered with the Convoy of Hope to help provide a positive impact in an uncertain time.
We've been thinking about this for a long time now, wanting to make the biggest impact we possibly can.
In the midst of the pandemic, Joey Logano and his wife Brittany announced a $1 million COVID-19 response and recovery fund. Once racing restarted, Logano's foundation helped distribute medical supplies, food, and aided those with financial shortages.
When we show up to a racetrack, typically over 100,000 people, hotels, restaurants, you name it, air travel is impacted because of the NASCAR race coming to town. When this pandemic first started, it was like we were just taking and not giving anything back. We wanted to find a way to kind of bridge that gap a little bit.
Little is an understatement. Logano's foundation has helped 35,000 people across 10 states and communities that normally benefit from NASCAR stopping by for a race weekend.
Have a truck full of essentials that show up, and we just disperse them from there. The people that need them. We're all stronger together. Appreciate you so much.
Thank y'all.
His outreach also includes a high-profile partnership with Feeding America. The idea is to donate at least 10 million meals. And Logano joins an A-list of supporters from Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson to Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback and Super Bowl 55 champ Tom Brady. Guys, let's go back to you.
All right, this week, 2010 Daytona 500 champ Jamie McMurray helping reveal a Grand Marshal SUV. The vehicle will lead the field around the track for a few laps today and features more than 3,000 signatures of first responders and those in the healthcare field to honor the work they have done during this pandemic. McMurray coming out of retirement for this week to compete in the 500 for the 18th time. NASCAR has a new race team, and when it comes to ownership, star power, hard to beat Michael Jordan. Can Bubba Wallace live up to the expectations of his new boss? That story coming up next.
I'm Clint Bowyer, and you're watching WFOX Fox 30. I'm Clint Bowyer, and you're watching WFOX Fox 30.